Hello and welcome back to the channel. Today we're playing Paradigm Chess, where bishops turn into dragons, a piece that moves like a bishop and a knight that can't jump. Starting positions are scrambled, and I will only play against higher rated opponents. My goal is to win 3 games. Let's get started with game number 1. Alright, game number 1, we get the black pieces, and our opponent is not only higher rated than us, but much higher rated. I'm going to start by treating this sort of like a game of Chess 960, where I normally try to position my bishops first. And obviously these are dragons, but I'm going to treat them like bishops first. We'll play c6, looking for d5, grabbing some central control. d4, d5. I mean, this is starting to turn into a sort of normal looking chess position. Bishop, or rather dragon b5 does give check. We'll block it with developing the knight. Knight to c3, let's develop, oh, it can't jump, that's right. Okay, new strategy. We're gonna play a6 to boot the dragon, and then maybe play like e6, and then dragon to e7. Knight d6, queen c7, and honestly, I might even castle long and look for a kingside attack. Knight takes d5. Oh, that's really interesting. I can't take because of dragon to c7, but what I can do is just take the dragon right away. Okay, the dragon takes back. It supports the c7 square. Is there anything I can do to stop that? It doesn't seem like it. I kind of just have to move my king out of the way. I do have an extra piece now under my belt in exchange for that pawn, or rather in exchange for 2 pawns if you count the one on d5. But our king is now pretty weak in the center. Castling is no longer an option. Okay, we're met with dragon c7, targets the queen, targets the rook. Actually, wait, no it doesn't. It can't take the rook because it moves like a knight, and some of you guys were confused about this last time as well. When we say moves like a knight, we start by counting 2 squares out in any orthogonal direction, and then from there, we elect a lateral square. So I know some of you guys count by moving 1 square orthogonally and then 2 over. That's not how they count it. Another way to think of it is 1 square orthogonally and then any of the diagonal squares. So in this case, I actually can just take this knight, because 1 square orthogonal in either direction and then 1 square diagonally, this dragon bishop is actually blocked by the knight and the pawn. So that was just free. Okay, the dragon bishop comes out. I'm more than happy to trade off. I'll pre-move queen takes d1. There's definitely no reason to lose this on time, so we'll just kind of speed through developing the rest of our pieces. And then it should just be a matter of simplifying. We're threatening this pawn because of the pin. The rook does defend. We'll develop the dragon. King to g7 seems pretty natural, brings the rook into play. I'm going to play e6, so there's no idea of the opponent playing that and weakening our pawn structure. a4 is kind of interesting. We'll move the knight towards the center, putting some more pressure on e5, kind of looking at b2 as well. Pawn moves forward, and this is probably a little too cheeky of me, but I'm just going to sack the rook and then take on e5. Pawn takes back, sure. I mean, I'll be honest, this was a pretty lazy way to simplify, and I've probably overcomplicated it for no reason, but I'm pretty confident that this should still be winning. Pawn forward is nice. We'll reroute the knight. It has a pretty good square on d5 where no pawns can ever boot it. We call that an outpost. We want the knight on that outpost on d5. Sure, we'll move back. No worries. We get a little tempo on the rook as well. And I'm thinking how we can actually get this dragon bishop into play. It's not doing terribly much as is. I mean, if my opponent wants to sack the rook for the dragon bishop, by all means. Otherwise, maybe just dragon to g5, reroute it to f6, and kind of lazily use it like a bishop to target d4. Nice, and we get the resignation. With that, we win game number 1. Let's go to move on to game number 2. All right, game number 2. I think we got the same opponent. We'll treat it kind of like we did the last game. I'm going to treat it like a game of Chess 960 where I start by positioning my bishops. In fact, I can actually double them up, which is kind of an interesting prospect. But I'm going to develop them onto different diagonals so they at least can pretend to serve different purposes. Besides that, we'll go knight g3. I'm thinking like f3, develop the queen, castle sooner rather than later. Seems the opponent has the same idea of developing the queen. That is one of the things that happens a lot in sort of Chess 960 positions. Is that you develop your pieces very quickly and then you remember that your queen is like on h1 or something and then she has nowhere to go. So we'll go ahead and castle out of the way. Whoa, dragon comes out and pins the knight to the queen. I would strike in the center. It is developed by the dragon, so maybe it's actually fine. Yeah, let's strike in the center since that's where the king is. And we're going to try to punish the opponent for not being able to castle. So we're going to take on d5. I guess we'll line the rook up with the king, so we're pinning the pawn on e6. We are threatening to capture on d5. And I have to admit, I really like the idea of the dragon bishop because it keeps positions from ever being drawish. For example, opposite colored bishop endgames, impossible. Can't happen in this variant ever. If you get this bishop, for example, stuck behind a chain of light squared pawns, just move it like a knight until it's on a dark square. I mean, knights always switch colors when they make a move, so you make one move with the dragon bishop, suddenly you have a different colored bishop. So there are a lot of upsides to having this new piece. We get knight to c4, which is pretty aggressive. I guess it covers the pawn on d5, and I don't really want to trade off my dragon bishop for this knight, so I'm just going to displace it with pawn to d3. Goes back to b6, now defending the pawn on d5. I don't really want to play knight to e2 and cover our own rook, but at the same time d3, or rather d4 to make room for the knight doesn't make a lot of sense when the knight can come back to c4. So I'm going to play, well, yeah, I'm going to play knight to e2. I don't really want to cover up this rook, but I'm more concerned about keeping my opponent's pieces restricted. Queen to e7, so the opponent's finally looking for a way to castle. They castle out of the way, we were just not in time. Now we can play d4. We're going to try to hold down e5. Knight to c4 is possible, but I am willing to trade off the dragon bishop to win a pawn and kind of keep the position asymmetrical. Sure, we'll trade off the last dragon bishop. Now the opponent has a dragon bishop and I don't, which definitely should be a disadvantage for me, but I feel pretty confident about playing this endgame, or at least I'm happier playing an endgame where the position is asymmetrical, as opposed to sort of trudging through a very even position. I'm thinking knight d3, knight e5. I mean, if we're gonna have control over the square, we might as well put a piece on it. Maybe even knight to c5. Knight to c5 is a true outpost because there's no pawns that can ever boot the knight. Knight c5, b4. Queen shuffles over, targets the rook. Queen d5. b3 isn't possible because the rook just takes. Let's go knight to e5, at least target the rook. We'll go ahead and take back with tempo on the queen. Knights will come down to b6, target the pawns from behind, usually the best way to target pawns. It'd be really nice not to lose this on time. I guess we have to defend c3, that's quite annoying. Let's go ahead and take back, we'll simplify it into an endgame. This dragon bishop could be quite annoying on g6, controlling the diagonal, targeting e5, but it goes to g5 instead. Let's go rook to d1, and then maybe like knight to e4, trying to trade this off. I mean, we're up a pawn, but it's a lone pawn on the outside of the board, so unless we can trade off all of these pieces and then get into like a king versus king endgame, it's more of a weakness than a passed pawn. We get queen back to a3, go ahead and double up on d4, trying to hold on to the c3 pawn. If rook to c8, targeting the pawn, knight to e4, we trade everything off, we drop the pawn, and we're kind of back to an even endgame. Okay, we get h6 instead, so the opponent doesn't want any back rank ideas. Fair enough. Dragon bishop goes back. Let's go knight to d6. That targets the queen. Queen back. Can't take because it's blocked by the knight. Oh, queen c5 check those. Well, yeah, it's kind of annoying. King over, and we just drop the pawn. Yep, the opponent sees the idea. All right, new strategy, try to get even on time. It's not the strat I wanted to play for, but we don't really have a choice. Wait, queen down, make a space, I guess? What's the idea like this? If the rook comes over, I'm just going knight to e4 and harassing the queen. We're officially up on time against the opponent. Nice. I think this is fine. Pre-move the recapture, and if rook to a2, we just have rook to d8, which is mate. Although I don't think this opponent will fall for that. Yeah, they just move the queen back, fair enough. We are dropping this pawn, so f4. I don't like this idea, and then we just have to kind of defend the knight. Bishop b5. Ugh. I guess we'll go back. Queen shuffles over, targets this pawn, targets the knight. You know what? Let's just go knight back and try to trade off. If the opponent takes with the bishop, oh, bishop c4 here. What's the idea here? And then target the pawn. We'll probably just go rook g1 and try to hold down the fort. Bishop, whoa, forks the queen and the rook. I did not see that idea. Offer a queen trade? I think that gets us out of trouble, but we drop the pawn on f4. Queen takes there. Oh wait, we're kind of falling to these sort of ideas. Well, it's not like we have much of a choice. So rook to d2, there's like rook a1 check, which is quite bad. Queen over, yup, that's quite annoying. They're just holding on for dear life now. And we do get mated with that. We lose game number 2. Let's go to move on to game number 3. All right, game number 3. It seems there's one opponent online that is higher rated than us. Let's play pawn to f3. And honestly, this time I think I just want to develop my dragon, play knight g3, and then just castle out of the way. And then later we can focus on seizing the center with like c3, which develops the dragon, d4, e4, etc. a6 is interesting, maybe looking for this. I mean, I'm fine to trade off. It costs my opponent a tempo, and it doesn't cost me anything. So d4, and we're looking pretty good here, I think. e4 as well is coming. c5, wow, counterattacks the center. Let's take on e5 to force a recapture, and then it's our turn again. Knight d3, knight to c6, we'll play e4, grab some central control, and besides the dragon bishop, we are basically developed here. Let's play the dragon to c2, queen to b6 with ideas of c4, and then check, wins the knight on d3, we'll move the king out of the way. Knight takes. If I take with the queen takes on b2. e5 looks at the pawn, but after something like g6, I'm not sure how we justify that attack. I mean, let's take with the queen. We'll calculate it after. If the queen takes and it's e5 is just not good, we'll play like rook b1 and then take on b7. Actually, can't we play here anyways? Or even better, here. I'm pretty sure that just traps the queen. So rook to b1, and I think we are, yeah, nice. Queen sacks for the dragon bishop. We are now up material. I'm not sure how much. That depends a lot on what we think the dragon bishop is actually worth, but we have to be up some amount of material. So we're definitely going to start looking for trades, and I'm going to assume the opponent's going to avoid them, right? Bishop, or rather dragon to f6. Let's do this. Rook to d6, and my kind of cheeky idea is to sack the rook for the dragon bishop, expose the king, and go in for checkmate. I don't know if that's actually something our opponent will permit, but it's a cool way to activate a piece. Dragon to e5, no interest at all in my sacrifice. We will try to insist. I mean, I think I'd be fine with his sacrifice as well. We'd have a queen for a rook at that point, and I think that's fine. Dragon goes down. It's not actually threatening anything because orthogonally it's blocked off. So it only operates as a bishop. So I'm pretty sure we can just kind of ignore that. Let's double up on the d file, target d7. Pawn to g6 does boot the knight. If we take, we just lose the knight for no reason. And losing the knight for no reason does not seem like a good idea. So let's go here. Knight back to g3. Again, I do apologize. It's kind of a lazy idea, but I'm really just looking for trades at this point. I mean, maybe there's an attack to be had somehow with like h4, h5, but I don't see any reason to complicate my position. I'm up material. I'm targeting d7. We get the dragon bishop back. I mean, I've been advocating for a trade, so I will probably just leave that there. And if my opponent wants to trade, then actually I will play h4. If this dragon bishop disappears and I don't have to worry about him anymore, then sure, I'll go for an attack. But we do get knight to e7. Rook here seems fine. I don't think the dragon bishop can move anywhere, unless it moves like a bishop, in which case it hangs the knight on e7. I mean, I guess it could move to c7 as well, or g7. But again, both of those hang the knight on e7 anyways. Okay, rook moves out of the way. Finally, I get that thing out of my hair. And we'll play h5, try to take advantage of the weak and dark squares, maybe bring the queen into the game. And we should be looking at either a really good attack or a pretty straightforward simplification. The only thing we can't mess around with is allowing the opponent to get like a passed pawn. So we'll have to be concise in this attack. Rook back to d8 wants to trade. I'm going to start by taking on g6. If the opponent wants to take and give me the open file, I definitely will take it. What I won't do is take first, because then there's no way for me to fight for that open file again. Okay, the knight takes back. Let's go knight to e2. Rook moves over. I kind of need to reroute this knight, but I really don't know where he needs to go. Maybe f4? I don't love weakening the king, but I don't think the opponent has any way to create concrete counterattack, so it should be fine. Maybe even like queen c1 here is kind of interesting. Oh wait, queen c1? Oh, interesting. The opponent would take, I take it back, and then I lose the queen. So maybe not queen c1. Let's take first with check. If queen c1 now, rook d2 is a little bit annoying. I don't really think we have much of a choice, so queen back to c1 it is. Rook does go down to d2. King to f1 or king to f2? Let's just go king to f2 so the knight can't come into play. We do drop this pawn, but there's check. The king comes up instead. We'll move the pawn to safety, and then maybe just like king to e1, and we're threatening to simplify everything. Not to mention unpinning the knight. Oh, nice. We do get the simplification, and this should be a pretty straightforward victory. Okay, I had to calculate that pretty precisely, but we do catch this pawn in time in the case of b4. We'll come in for this pawn, move the knight back to g3. Move the knight back to e2 just to be totally sure that we don't mess this up. We now have opposition, so we sneak in one way or the other. Oh wait, I could have just taken on e5. I'm just making this hard for myself for no reason. Okay, let's go back, and I guess we can just go for these pawns. I've made this significantly longer than it needed to be, but it's winning anyways. Oh, I've promoted to a knight. That was completely an accident. I did not mean to do that. I'm used to clicking on that same square and just getting a queen. All right, we get the resignation. With that, we win game number 3. That is our second victory. Let's go to move on to game number 4. All right. Game number 4, we get the exact same player. We'll play f3 here. We're met with e6, and I'm pretty sure we just need to make sure the queen doesn't get trapped by accident, and we'll be in a good spot to castle out of the way and focus on the rest of the game. If the queen is going to come out early, I'm definitely going to bother her. The queen goes back. We'll play queen to f2. Nice, we get to castle out of the way. It seems the opponent has the exact same idea. Oh, dragon to f6. Interesting. Let's play d4, grab some center space. Knight to e7, c3. I mean, it's possible the opponent wants to castle long, which could actually be some fun. We get knight to f5, targets the dragon. And I don't really think I have a way to get this bishop out. I mean, dragon to f4, g5. And then I don't think I have a way to save it. So we're going to have to trade off this dragon for the knight. And what about e4 here, trying to take advantage of the king in the center? Let's give it a try. I don't know if it works, but it's not even worth calculating. It just looks like too much fun. Nice, rook to e1, threatens the pawn. There's no other pawn that can defend, so it has to be just pieces. I mean, of course, the opponent can always just castle and forfeit the pawn. Hey, right, and still have a dragon for my knight. We'll go ahead and take. Okay, we do get that trade. now we have to make use of 2 knights in a open position. Yeah, we signed ourselves up for doom here. Let's play knight to d3. Get knight to e6. I don't love leaving my rook in the center. I'm going to end up doing the same thing I did with the bishop, but this time I think I do have an escape square on h4, and it kind of lines up as part of the attack. Dragon to d6. Like we said, rook to h4 should be fine. And I think my follow-up here is rook to f1 and then like knight to f5, target the dragon, start bringing pieces into the attack, and hope we can justify not having a dragon ourselves. Ooh, pawn to g6. I think just creates weaknesses in the king side. Maybe f5 is the idea. No, rook moves over. Oh, the idea is just to catch the knight. Okay, knight to g4 threatens this, winning the queen. Threatens knight to h6. Queen can also go to f6. I mean, this attack is looking pretty good. I feel like queen to e7 kind of catches all those ideas. I mean, there's still check though. King moves up to g7. We can take. Queen can't take back because we take, and the dragon bishop can't jump over the knight. So there should still be some pretty good ideas here. Not to mention, if somehow all of those ideas fail, knight to e5 is a possibility. Forks the queen and the pawn on f7. If takes, I just replace one knight with another like a Russian doll, and the attack continues. Okay, queen to c7. So actually gives up this idea with the exchange, but I think this is even more promising. Check. King moves over, we take. Or actually, no, just check, and then queen comes into f6. So king over is forced, and then we take, and then there's this discovered attack idea. Okay, check. This looks really good for us. Yeah, king moves back. Now we can take, and this discovered attack should just be devastating. I think this opponent struggles a little bit with seeing the dragon bishop not being able to jump over pieces. That seems to be the biggest point of confusion. Okay, the opponent is running down on time. I do want to clarify that the reason this series is called Survive is because the idea is that I'm only playing opponents that are higher rated than me. Even as I gain rating, I continue to play up in the rating pool. So I'm trying to survive against higher rated opponents. Okay, the opponent flags, and with that, we win game number 4. That is our 3rd victory. If you guys did enjoy this video, please consider liking and subscribing. Let me know down below what you guys think of this chess variant. I kind of wish that the dragon bishop could jump always. I feel like it would be a little more intuitive. Leave your thoughts in the comments down below. How much do you think a dragon bishop is worth? And I will see you guys in the next one.